is a Yak-3, Yakolov 3, was put together at the same time as the Japanese Zero. And it shares a couple of things with the Japanese Zero.
Yep.
This device right here. Okay? And also the pitot tube over here. It's exactly the same. This right here, which is the speedometer of the aircraft, is exactly the same on the Zero. Now, the markings tell you what? What country?
Russia?
Russian, okay. What about the spinner?
American?
Nope.
French?
What did you say? French. Okay. So anybody that would be flying alongside of this Russian aircraft would know that there's a Frenchie at the stick. Okay? So you have a free French pilot flying a Russian aircraft against the Germans during World War II. This is in the paintwork of Marcel Albert's aircraft, who was the second highest ranking ace of World War II of the French Air Force. The insignias right here on the side indicates that he shot down 24 German aircraft. Okay, this lightning insignia also lets you know that it belongs to the Normandy Neiman group, the French group that fly with the Russians against the Germans. The Russians were so thankful for the help by the French pilots that after that pilot's tour of duty was over, not just Marcel Albert, but any French pilot, they were able to take their airplane home to France with them.
Nice.
That's a heck of a thank you.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Smaller than the Zero, but faster than the Zero, and not quite as maneuverable, but it 410 miles per hour, not too shabby. The Zero, 360. The Hellcat, where'd my Hellcat go? Right over here, 380. Now, this is a Bearcat. Now, one thing about Grumman Aircraft Company, they named all their fighter aircraft after cats. Before this was the Wildcat, then the Hellcat, then the Tiger Cat, which had 2 engines, okay, then the Bearcat, okay, 1 engine, but depending on what book you read, this was the fastest propeller-driven aircraft in the air when it first came out, okay? About 450 miles per hour, something like that. But it came out too late for World War II, okay? So the only Navy version of the B-25, our PBJ, flew back there. This past April. It was one of only 11 B-25s flew. This airplane, let's talk about this now. When it flew in here 24 years ago, it looked like that. Olive drab. In fact, we thought it was a B-25. It flew in here after sitting outside for several years on the Gulf Coast. What does that mean, anybody? Gulf Coast, salt air, corrosion, okay? So when it flew in here, the FAA said 2 things. Number 1, we don't know how you made it from Texas in this thing. Number 2, you're not going to fly it until you fix it. It's so badly corroded. Well, it flew in here May 15th, 1993. It made its first official flight May 15th, 2016. 23 years of restoration. It's 90% a new airplane.
So all those little metal panels had to be redone and re-riveted?
Right on.
Wow.
It's a hand-built aircraft.
Yeah.
It's like a Spitfire. It's like a Rolls-Royce engine. Now, if you want to take a look inside the bomb bay, please do.
And look for the bombs?
There are no bombs in there, but at least that's where the bombs would come out. Duck your head, be careful. Now you can't go inside of the aircraft, but at least there's room for
These go up, and the bombs are in it, and when they drop them, these come down, and the bombs drop from there.
And here is the Bombardier Station.
Look at that gun.
And no protection at all. This guy was, and this is plastic with plexiglass. It's not the bulletproof.
It was glass back then, right?
No, it was plexiglass.
Plexiglass?
Because they didn't have the ability to curve.
Glass.
We're talking 75 years ago. They didn't have that technology. Just like you remember about the C-46 in the cell phone. American made almost 10,000 B-25s during World War II, but only 600 of them were diverted to the Navy for use by the Marines. So that in itself made it pretty rare. But when they did the research and found out that this is the only one, hey, it doesn't get any better than that. You know, this is the only one. And people say, well, geez, if it's that rare, why do you fly it? It's a bird. It's a bird. It belongs up in the air. What can I say? Different mindset.
Yeah.
Different mindset. If it works. Airplane. Makes them pass the world and take them off. No, we still ride it. But it's the Lord.
We're over there now, Tom? No, you're hitting the good one.
This is our Spitfire, Mark 14, okay? Why am I pointing the Mark 14 out? Because it's the first one to have a bubble canopy. It's the first one to have a 5-bladed propeller. And it's the third one to have the Griffin engine. So what's the big deal about a Griffin engine? Well, instead of having 1,400 horsepower, you have 2,100 horsepower in the same airframe. Not only that, for some reason, unbeknownst to me and anybody that can tell me why, the propeller turns the wrong way, okay? So, not only do you have 700 more horsepower, you have so much torque that if you don't know that that's turning the wrong way, you're gonna flip this thing over, okay?
Wow.
Why? Because remember how I told you the Zero, the landing gear very wide?
Yes.
Look at the,
Narrow.
it's very narrow. There's a reason for that. The origins of the Spitfire seaplane racer didn't have landing gear, had pontoons. When war was imminent in the 1930s with the British against the Germans, they attached landing gear where the pontoon braces were, and this is the Reader's Digest version, okay? The blades on all of the Spitfires, from the Mark I on up to the later Marks, all made out of wood. So they snap off and don't damage the airframe or the airplane. The Messerschmitt ME-109, the German counterpart that would fight the British Spitfire, also had narrow landing gear, but they had metal blades on the propeller. Why? Because they had a 30mm cannon in the nose, okay? So balance was very important, okay? When they